Hey guys, Marissa Boyle here. Today we're going to go over a basic buy and hold formula for residential investment homes. I recommend any agent learn how to work with investors because then you're insulated from any kind of market shifts, turns, because you have to remember the market is always good for one of three people, and that is either buyers, sellers, or investors. So as long as you know how to work with all three, you've got a pretty balanced career. And then if you're in a seller's market, go there. If we hit another recession or downturn, go to investors. And then I'm going to show you how to calculate some basic investment property returns and you can go from there. So you always want to start with the purchase price. So let's say that is $225,000. You enter that in. Next up, you want to do your closing costs. So I always figure out rental returns on a cash basis first because if you can make it work on a cash basis, you can definitely make it work when you add financing to it. And I'll show you that spreadsheet in just a second too. Closing costs, let's estimate that at $3,000. Carrying costs, this is going to be, utilities, insurance, all that good stuff. So say maybe that's $750. And then initial rehab, that's what it's going to take to get the property in rent-ready condition. Maybe you need to paint, do some new flooring. Maybe you don't need to do anything. So I would estimate this, maybe let's say $5,000. So you add all those numbers up. So the purchase price, closing costs, carrying costs, initial rehab, and then that will give you your cost basis. And all cost basis means is just what is it going to take money-wise to buy the property, rehab it, and then get it set up for rent. So in this example, we're at $233,750. Now let's say monthly rent. So a couple ways you can do that. You can ask a property manager. You can look on Zillow for a rent estimate. You can pull up the data from your local MLS based on whatever the property is. So for this one, I'm just going to estimate $2,500 a month. And then we're going to need our annualized rent, and you can see that calculated. All that is the monthly rent times 12 months in a year gives you the annualized rent of $30,000 a year. And then we get our first return estimate. So this is what's going to be called the gross rental yield or your gross return. And all that is your annualized rent that we just figured out divided by that cost basis, which is how much it's going to cost to buy the property. So you'll hear people call this a cash on cash return. So basically you're getting 12.83%. Now we want to look at the expenses and some of the holdbacks that you want for a rental property. So I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, so property taxes are fairly inexpensive. So annually, those on this property would be about $4,500. Vacancy, we're just going to estimate that as 10% of the annualized gross rent. And you want to do that because ideally the homes stay leased, forever and ever. However, when you have a tenant move out, you have to kind of estimate for that. HOA, I'm going to say this one is probably around $550 a year. Insurance, let's estimate that at $1,000. Kind of pro tip, you also want to have your tenants get their own renter's policy. It's very inexpensive, and then you get some protection there as the owner. So make sure your renters get a renter policy. Property management fee, you have to make the call. Are you going to self-manage? I personally love to hire a property manager. So in my market, that costs about 10%. You just call local property managers, figure out what that is in your market. And then maintenance holdback. So I just estimate that as 5% of that annualized rent. So similar to the vacancy estimate, you want to make sure that you're always holding back money every single month just in case, the water heater goes out. You need a new roof at some point, just kind of a good business practice. Okay, so then we're going to add up all of these guys, all these expenses and holdbacks, and we're going to get this number, which is $13,550. And then we're going to get into our net profit calculation. So then we've got your gross rent, which is that $30,000 a year, and then minus those expenses, which are $13,550. So that has you making off this property, if you paid cash for it, $16,450. and then we want a net profit percent. And so all that is the net profit divided by that cost basis. And reminder on cost basis, that's your purchase price, closing, carrying, and rehab, initial rehab. So use this spreadsheet. If you want a copy of it, I'll put it in the notes below how to grab it, and you can go from there. I also have another tab on here if you want to calculate what it looks like on a finance basis. I can do that for you real quick. It's, what do we say, 225. 20% down payment. You're going to want to figure out a good lender to partner with. They'll give you down payment, closing costs, interest rates. You do need to know down payments and interest rates are typically higher on investment properties. Closing costs, say 3,000, carrying, what do we say, 1,000, initial rehab, 5,000. This puts your cost basis at 54,000, right? Because you don't have the 100% for the purchase price. So then we're going to do monthly rent, 2,500, annualized rent, 30,000, same thing. This is where it gets interesting when you use financing, and I always want you to make sure it works on a cash basis, because if it works on a cash basis, it will certainly work on a finance basis. So this puts the gross return at 55% if you are using a loan with 20% down payment. Property taxes, vacancy, again, 10% of the gross rent. Insurance we'll put at 1,000. Again, have a team. You need your lender team, your property management team, and then as well as your homeowner's insurance, just to get these quotes for you if you don't know them off the top of your head. Property management fee, again, 10%. Maintenance holdback. Mortgage payment, I'm just throwing numbers up. You need to get this actual estimate. Let's say it's $2,500 a month. That would put your total expenses at $15,500. Again, your net profit, gross rent minus total expenses, and then your net profit percent, 27%. So off of the $54,000 you invested, you are making 27% return. So again, always start with a cash basis, make sure that looks good. And then if your people want to get a loan, you can go ahead and do it that way. So anyway, I will put in the comments how to get a copy of this spreadsheet and reach out with questions. Thanks. Bye.